What's going on, everybody? It's Nick Kosko with On3 Sports. It's time for a little Big Ten wrestling tournament recap. I just got back from College Park, Maryland last night. Gotta say, Big Ten tournament, of course, always wild. I've been to a handful of these over the last, give or take almost 10 years now at this point, and the tournament never disappoints over a compact 2 days inside one of the Big Ten institutions. This time, Maryland played host. Good host, if I might add. There was plenty of room for media to walk around. We had a good setup, and obviously everything was kind of right on top of each other. It was a great atmosphere for the fans as well. So I thought Maryland did a stand-up job. But let's get right into it. A lot of surprises, obviously a lot of dominance as well when it comes to these weight classes. My predictions were pretty much on point when it came to picking the champions of this weight of each weight class, but some of them missed, obviously, and I'll get into that in a little bit as well. So we're gonna start with 125. Bron Davis breaking that 125-pound curse that everyone's always talking about on social media. How they really haven't had one that a stalwart that any Lions haven't had one since Nick Sirianni was there for his first and only season at Penn State before he ended up winning national titles at Rutgers and Michigan later on in his career. Bron Davis, a freshman, I got to say, what an impressive performance. He beat Patrick McKee of Minnesota in the finals. Late takedown to clinch it at 7-1 in that decision. I mean, he is unbelievable. I mean, I at this point with 125, we saw it in the Big Ten. We saw Dean Peterson take out Matt Ramos, and then Ramos finishes third. Peterson ended up finishing fifth. So, it's a wacky type of weight we've seen all season long. Again, we've seen that not just in the Big Ten, but across the entire country. I would not be surprised pretty much anybody who's going to win this weight at NCAAs in 2 weeks in Kansas City. Davis is now on that short list to be one of the favorites, again, coming out of a loaded Big Ten weight class. Again, with a national finalist and Matt Ramos not even making the finals in this bracket. Davis, he has been so impressive. He just keeps getting better and better, and he showed off more scoring prowess, in my mind, able to get 2 takedowns on McKee in that final. So Davis breaking the Penn State curse, I would say watch out for him. And again, I'll dive more into the NCAA stuff when we get closer to Kansas City in 2 weeks. Obviously, when the brackets come out, when we get the full 33 guys in each weight class, and we get all the seeds, and we can start debating that as well. But Bron Davis, so impressive. That was wild to watch. And again, just gave Penn State yet another champion on Sunday. So 133. I got to eat it right here. My guy, Dylan Chauver, got it done. Dominated Dylan Ragatson of Michigan, 23-8 tech fall in the finals. Rutgers' first Big Ten champ since 2019 when they had 2 with Anthony Ashnell and Nick Sirianni, who went on to win. Both those guys went on to win national titles just a couple of weeks later in Pittsburgh. Chauver, I picked him to get to the finals. He's been impressive all year as the voice of Rutgers wrestling. I've watched him for a handful of years, been around the program for so long, and he has gotten so much better this year at 133, so much quicker, so much stronger. He's very active on his feet. You saw in the final just shot after shot after shot after shot. He proved me wrong. I thought he would get back to the finals, but come up short against Ragatson, who's been a stalwart all year. Only had the 1 loss to Jacob Van Dee of Nebraska. Otherwise, he was pretty stout in the Big Ten as well. But when you look at what he was able to do in the finals, he got the first takedown, a nasty super duck underneath to the left side, got that first takedown, and eventually the throw in the second period, which led him which got him to what? I think it was 10 points. He was locked up in the overhooks. Ragatson was trying to jack him up, and Shaw was able to toss him along the boundary, getting some near fall points along with the takedown as well. So eventually clinched it and ended up on top of him as well in the third period as Ragatson went for a desperation gator roll right there, and he almost pinned him again. So hats off to Dylan Chauver. He's a menace. 133. He's going to be firmly in the national title conversation, certainly in the conversation to be in the top 8 and to become an All-American for the first time in his career. So hats off to him. And again, Rutgers gets a champ right there, and which helped them actually finish 6th in the team race. Good tournament from the Scarlet Knights. 141. My God. Jesse Mendes. He is unbelievable. Now, I picked Real Woods to win this bracket, so I had him over Mendes in the semifinals. I thought Woods was going to take out Bo Bartlett. Unless I actually had that backwards now. Now I'm thinking about it. Actually, no, I think I did have Real Woods over Bo Bartlett, trying to get that payback right there against the Penn State undefeated wrestler there for the Nittany Lions. But, oh, my God, Jesse Mendes, he had a slick reattack and got that takedown late, able to, I think it was a foot sweep. Like he tried a foot sweep and was able to drop down. He just kept wrestling through the position, able to drop it on that double, and he's able to take down Bartlett. Now, again, Bartlett is a guy who is just so hard to score on. He's been like that his whole career. He's been like that this entire season, and that's why he was undefeated. You just can't score on the guy. Now, he does thrive in those low-scoring matches in folk style, but Mendes, he proved why he should be now thought about as a guy who can win this entire weight in March as well. So I loved what I saw from Mendes all weekend long. And again, he comes up big in the biggest spot there for the Ohio State Buckeyes, winning 141. Absolutely wild to see. And again, we saw a differentiation of some champs early on in the lightweights. So we'll go over 149. Ridge Loveit taking out Austin Gomez. That was something we always want. We wanted to see Ridge Loveit against Austin Gomez, right? Everyone wanted to see that. I had Gomez winning here in the finals. Loveit got it done. Very close match. A lot of throw attempts. Gomez is a wild man. And again, I would not be surprised if these two end up getting matched up, whether it's an NCAA final or maybe a semifinal, quarterfinal. Again, it's all going to depend upon the seeds in a wild 149 weight class. But I would not be shocked if we see these two guys go at it again in Kansas City. And when they do, expect fireworks. And I would not be surprised if it goes back the other way. But Loveit winning this match now, beating Gomez twice this year. I think what we saw right there, I got to say Loveit is going to definitely be the favorite at NCAAs, of course, being the #1 guy all season long. But beating a guy like Gomez like that on that stage in the Big Ten Finals and getting it done for the second time this year, I think he's really taking a step forward now. And I could easily see now Loveit winning the national finals and really having no trouble until you get to maybe that semifinal and final round at NCAA. So again, Ridge Loveit, what a performance. Very close match with Gomez. Gomez was just right there, but don't count out Gomez in 2 weeks in Kansas City as well. All right, we're nearing the halfway point here across these 10 weight classes. Levi Haynes, absolutely clutch. I mean, he's clutch in overtime. And I know everyone makes jokes about Michigan's Will Luan, how he just loves wrestling past 7 minutes, wants to go to overtime. He actually pinned Michael Blockus earlier in the tournament, which was a bit of a surprise. That was the quarterfinal matchup. Blockus, the 2 seed. I had Blockus going to the finals during my predictions earlier last week. Loveit was able, Luan was able to stick him. That was crazy. The roof blew off because Will Luan wins a lot of these matches, by a point, by one takedown, has to go to overtime, and then wins either via riding time or he gets a takedown and sudden victory. He took Levi Haynes to sudden victory in the finals, and again before that he showed off that he can pin guys. But he's one of the toughest outs I've ever seen, and he can cruise to the podium that way. So I could see him getting an All-American spot, if not maybe finishing much higher up on the podium based on the way he's wrestles. Now, people might not like it. Maybe Michigan fans are just like, okay, here we go. We're in for a long, 10, 12-minute match right with Will Luan. But I'm very impressed with the way he wrestles defensively, and he took Levi Haynes to the brink right there. But Haynes, national finalist last year, now a 2-time Big Ten champion, showed why he's just a little bit of a step above Luan in that aspect, able to get on his attack early on in sudden victory, got the win, and it gave Penn State another champion. Of course, that's 2 for Levi Haynes, and again, he's going to be the national title favorite, likely my pick in 2 weeks as well at 157. Well, we got to talk about, if we're talking about Penn State, and again, they dominate towards a team title as well, but if we're talking about Penn State and these young bucks and how Bron Davis broke the curse at 125, you got to talk about Mitchell Messenbrink, transferred in, redshirt freshman. Unbelievable performance against Dean Hamady of Wisconsin. Now, I thought Dean was going to be you could easily pick him, right? But I picked Messenbrink. I picked Messenbrink last week. I just had a feeling undefeated. He has a motor about him that he just keeps going. And he was down 9-3 at one point, got a late takedown in that second period, cut it to 9-6. And then at one point, it was 11-7 the third period. And that's when he got in on a great re-attack, got the double, took Hamady to his back, and right there was able to get the near fall points as well. Big 6-point move right there for Messenbrink, and just like that, 13-11, finishes on top. And with that, I mean, it's going to be hard not to pick Messenbrink to make a run to the finals. Now, again, it's going to depend upon where he is seated. He's a Big Ten champion now, so now the question is, does he get the 2 seed? Is he get the 3 seed? Is he going to be the 4 seed? Now, I would imagine, just off the top of my head, a rough look at it, that he probably will be a 2 or 3 seed. He's undefeated, and now he has the win over Hamady, of course. Keegan O'Toole out from the Big 12 at Mizzou, the 2-time national champion. He just won the Big 12s as well, beat David Carr, his rival. He'll be the #1 seed. So now it's a question of, do you see Carr and Messenbrink be the 2, 3? And regardless of where they are, that's, if you go by chalk, they're probably going to match up against each other in the 165 semifinals. So at that point, do you pick a former national champion in David Carr, and multi-time finalist in David Carr over Messenbrink, who has not been on this stage or a big stage like that quite yet? Or do you pick Messenbrink, who just seems like he just cannot be stopped by anybody, maybe aside from a guy like David Carr or Keegan O'Toole when the time comes to it? But I was so impressed by him. The sitting on press row during that match. I was running around the floor for a couple matches. I was back on press row for Messenbrink's match. Deafening. I have not heard a Big Ten tournament that loud in quite some time. And that's probably the loudest I ever heard a Big Ten tournament, was when Messenbrink got that takedown, got the near fall points, and then hung on for the victory, where he rode out Hamony at the end of the third period. The Penn State crowd, which was out in full force, by the way, not that far of a drive to Maryland on the East Coast there for the Nittany Lion fans. Loudest I heard the arena all weekend long was Mitchell Messenbrink's win over Dean Hamony. Now, 174, very tough weight class right here, and it's tough from the perspective of, unfortunately, there were two major injuries to two major stars of the sport at this weight class. Carter Starachi did not wrestle for Penn State, and again, they just dominated the team score even without their three-time national champion, which is mind-boggling when you really break it down and put it in perspective. Now, he was there. Okay, he has to take those medical forfeits. That's the new rule now. You have to step on the mat, and then you take a forfeit. He had to do it twice, so it's going to count against his record. 2 losses right there. It's going to affect his seeding. We don't know how much yet for NCAA's, but a guy who probably should have been the 1 seed, winning the Big Ten and being undefeated going into Kansas City, is now going to drop a couple spots. Again, don't know how far. It was unfortunate to see that, he was out there, just kind of walked gingerly out onto the mat. Didn't really have a noticeable limp, at least based on what I saw, but, having to go out there and take 2 forfeits really stinks for Starachi. And then Shane Griffith, my original pick, I was under the assumption that Starachi was not going to wrestle in this tournament. I had Shane Griffith winning. I had him winning over Rocco Welsh, who ended up taking 3rd for Ohio State. Watching Shane Griffith, again, former national champion for a reason, very stout defensively. He gets on those clutch reattacks. Now he gets hurt in his semifinal against Patrick Kennedy of Iowa. That really stunk. I was Matt's side. I was right there. I still couldn't even quite see what happened. I think it was a scramble. They ended up going out of bounds, and just the way he stood up, he already knew he hurt something in his knee, and that stunk. It really stunk. His left knee was all wrapped up. The very next day, he was getting taped up in the morning. Maybe he thought he could go, or was trying to test it out. And then I saw him around the floor, and he was just walking gingerly around. And it really stunk. I thought maybe he was just trying to test it out, trying to get his leg loose. Maybe he would, just, again, you know how tough these guys are. Just maybe he would try to go for the finals, but it was not to be. So Edmund Ruth gets crowned champion by forfeit. Now, the Illinois 174-pounder, who's going to go down as a Big Ten champion in the history record books, unfortunately does not get to wrestle for that title, but he got there. He earned his way to the finals, so he does deserve from that perspective. I'm excited to see what he can do at NCAA's. I do like Ruth a lot as a wrestler for the Fighting Illini, but again, gives Illinois a Big Ten champion, so it is good from that perspective as well. But it really stunk that you couldn't see Griffith and Ruth battle it out for the finals. Again, Griffith was looking for his first Big Ten title in his lone Big Ten season here with Michigan, but now we have to worry about what his status is going to be in terms of injury and how his leg is going to hold up for NCAA's in 2 weeks. Don't know the severity of the injury. Didn't look good, obviously, the way he was walking around. Really just couldn't, he couldn't operate on Sunday. As again, that's why you're not going to wrestle in the finals. If you can't jog, you're really not going to wrestle. So he didn't want to risk it there. So again, I don't know how far his seat's going to drop. It's going to be very interesting to see where Starachi and Griffith do end up in NCAA's. All right, let's go to 184 right now. 184, a wide open weight class. Isaiah Salazar getting the sudden victory win over Bernie Truax. Now, this weight class could have went any number of directions. I had Salazar over Pinto. The top 8 were all wild men. They could all, pin guys like Lane Malachowski. You had guys like Ryder Rogotsky, Brian Soldano, all from that top 8. All these guys could have pinned pretty much anybody in the tournament. Jaden Bullock had a nice tournament as well for Michigan, but Salazar proved why he was the number 1 seed. He earned it, got the sudden victory win over Bernie Truax. Took him to his back as well in overtime. Love the reattack on that, because it looked like during the overtime sequence, looked like Truax had a 2-on-1 on the wrist and kind of just shucked him down to the mat. And Salazar fell to his belly and somehow got back to his knees, able to grab a leg of Truax, and he was able to finish that takedown. And now he is a Big Ten champion. So very interesting to see what he can do at NCAAs as well coming out of the Big Ten. Of course, everyone's going to look at Big 12 champion Parker Kekheisen from Northern Iowa. He's going to be the overwhelming favorite. He's been an absolute monster this year. But if those two match up at any point in the bracket, I'm certainly looking forward to that one as well. Speaking of studs, look at 197, Aaron Brooks. No one's stopping this guy. Tech Falls, Zach Glazier from Iowa in the finals. Now, a great tournament by Glazier. He's been a great story all season long. I would certainly put him in the candidate spot for an All-American placement in at NCAAs. But Aaron Brooks is on a completely different level. It's not even close, really. I mean, it's almost unfair when you put anybody out there. At this point, I'd be surprised if anybody holds them under bonus points at 197 when you talk about his run to a fourth national title next in 2 weeks. If he wins by a decision, I'll just say this: I would actually be stunned at this point. The way he was wrestling all weekend long, it's just absolutely a pleasure to watch. I'm gonna miss him when he's gone, but he's been dominant for so long. 4-time Big Ten champion. Again, 4-time national champion. Unfortunately, couldn't wrestle in 2020 due to the canceled tournament, but he'll get his opportunity at a fourth national championship, is what I should say. But at this point, it's almost like it's next topic at that point. So looking forward to seeing what he can do as well. All right, let's go to heavyweight to wrap this up. Great Kirk. He is going to be the same type of wrestler here for Penn State. Dominant, beat Nick Feldman 9-3. And Feldman actually got the first takedown in that final. And we were thinking, like, all right, Feldman, he's been turning it up a notch over the last month or two. And maybe he would be a challenger to Kirk Fleet, maybe keeping it close. He kept it to a decision, but Kirk Fleet just too big, too strong, too fast. This is his year. Younger Bastida of Iowa State won the Big 12 over Wyatt Hendrickson of Air Force, and everyone thought Kirk Fleet versus Hendrickson was going to be the match at NCAAs in terms of the finals. But now everyone's thinking Bastida maybe has the chance right now to knock off Kirk Fleet. I would want to see that match, but I would have a hard time picking against Kirk Fleet right now. Again, so dominant, and that pretty much summed up the tournament there for Penn State. So I thought there were some great performances. Obviously, you look at Penn State, 5 champs, they win the team title as well. And then you look at, Michigan being the runner-ups. Nebraska had a great tournament with Ridge Loveit. And then you look at Iowa, quiet. I mean, you have one finalist. Real Woods didn't make it. And then I don't know. I don't know really what to make out of Iowa, considering, is this going to be a telltale sign of what's going to happen at NCAAs? And they have guys all over the place, and they have. But by the way, for Iowa, Brody Teske, 14 seed. I know he won the spot late at 133. He made a nice run. He knocked off Nick Bouzakis in the first round. He ended up getting to the semifinals where he lost to the eventual champion Dylan Shawver. But again, Teske he had a great tournament. That might help his seeding at NCAAs as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if the multi-time NCAA qualifier does make a run towards the podium in 2 weeks as well. So there are some positives to take out of there for Iowa, but with only one finalist, no champions this year. And I believe if Glazier didn't make the finals, it would have been the first time in nearly 60 years that Iowa did not have a finalist at Big Tens, which is a mind-boggling stat. It really is. So I don't know what Iowa's going to do. Can they turn up a notch in 2 weeks from now? Maybe, but I'm not too sure what. Again, who can win a national title? Maybe just Real Woods. Drake Ayala, again, who knows? Drake Ayala at 125, that weight class is so wide open. Would it stun me? No, it really wouldn't. But Iowa, I came away a little bit disappointed from Iowa, despite the fact they finished in the top 4 of the Big Ten and they had over 100 team points. I was still a little disappointed at the fact that, you didn't have more than the one finalist, or Real Woods ended up not winning the Big Ten this year. But again, we'll see what happens if they could turn around in Kansas City in 2 weeks as well. Ohio State had a great tournament, of course, at number 5. I mentioned before, Rutgers, my guys over there, had a great tournament as well. 6th place, finished the shade behind Ohio State as well. But Ohio State, I got to mention, they're going to be a problem next year for sure. Now, these guys can make a lot of noise. A lot of their young guys can make some noise this year. And obviously with Mendes winning a Big Ten title, maybe he is the guy that's going to win at 141. Never know at this point. Maybe he's the national champion now, but they're going to be an absolute problem next year when those guys get that first year under their belt. Big first year, I should say, and they're more experienced going into 24, 25. Ohio State's going to be an absolute problem. So those were my biggest takeaways from the Big Ten tournament over the weekend in Maryland. Of course, our recap of all the finals right there. So please, you're watching this video, of course. I'm Nick Kosko for On3 Sports saying so long. We'll be back with some previews for NCAAs in about a week and a half or so. Looking forward to that. So keep it locked here to on3.com. Check out all our content and also check out our YouTube page for On3 as well, wherever you get your YouTube on the computer, on the phone, wherever you might get it. Check out on3.com. Check out On3 on YouTube.